Hey y'all! Pokemon Red, using only one Articuno, had me feeling like the season of freezing. So this week, let's kick things up a notch. I'm gonna beat Pokemon Red, using only one Moltres. As usual, the rules are, we can only use one Moltres in battle, and I can't use any items in battle. By the way, if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and check out more of these videos on my channel. Moltres is the second of the legendary birds from the first generation of Pokemon. And I know some people will argue that it's actually the third bird because its name is Moltres, but that argument doesn't really hold up when you consider that the original names for these birds did not follow that 1, 2, 3 convention. In fact, their names in Japanese were much less creative. Freezer, Thunder, and Fire. 3 guesses as to which one is which, but outside of the name, Moltres might be one of the best designed Pokemon of all time. No, not for the stats or moves, but solely because Game Freak had the good sense to design a chicken that Kentucky fries itself. And seriously, I don't know which sounds more delicious, Moltres or Tepig. Bacon. As for the stats and moves, Moltres' stats aren't half bad, but the move pool kinda is. 100 base attack is great, except when your most consistent stab move is Peck. Yeah, not so much. But at least we've got that 125 base special stat for exactly 2 fire moves. Okay, I can already tell how this one's gonna go. So, alright, let's do this. Off at Professor Oak's lab, I used the Universal Pokemon Randomizer to replace Charmander with Moltres so that a rival will pick Squirtle. By the end of the game, the rival Bubs will have a Blastoise, which will be very strong against our Fire-type Moltres, making it arguably the most difficult team for us to beat. Moltres is a bird that is known to fly around, spreading its molten mayhem, so I nickname ours Lavitating. Honorable mentions for nicknames also include Kentucky Flied. Moltres starts off with 2 moves, Peck and Fire Spin. Articuno also started off with 2 moves, and one of them was also Peck, but the other one was Ice Beam for crap's sake. This is pretty rough. So, after the rival Bubs challenges us to a battle, we get to see right away just how different this run is going to be from the one with Articuno. It was able to blast Squirtle with resisted Ice Beams, but at 95 base power they still did a lot of damage. Fire Spin is like 15% as strong as Ice Beam, plus it has a 30% chance to miss, plus it takes forever even when it does actually hit. So anyone who thinks this challenge is already in the bag just because we've got a trapping move has got a rude awakening. The only thing that's going to get older quicker than Fire Spin are all the jokes I'm going to make in this video about fried chicken and volcanoes. But I can do whatever I want, and I certainly don't need your permission. Having beaten Bubs, I head through Viridian Forest and make my way to the Pewter City Gym. I thought we could use a few extra levels for Brock, because he's got Rock-type Pokemon, so I made sure to battle the bug catchers in Viridian Forest for some easy extra experience. But by the time I challenged Brock, we are level 9, which is not bad, but I'm not feeling fine. And then I remember, oh yeah, we have to fight with Fire Spin. And my head immediately starts doing that thing you do where you're starting to fall asleep, but you don't realize it yet. You know what I mean? It might actually be happening to me right now. Hold on. Yeah! Oh god, what was I doing? Oh yeah, that's right, Brock. Okay, well we beat Brock on the very first try, but holy cow does Fire Spin take its sweet time getting the job done. It also doesn't help me when we keep missing this stupid move. Come on, Moltres. Can't you even hit the broadside of a barn? Although, I guess that's fair, since a lot of people think Fire Spin is cheap, the way that it keeps the opponent from doing literally anything. I guess in that way, Fire Spin is more cowardly than flipping someone the bird and then running away. Or as I like to call it, giving them the chicken finger. After traversing Mount Moon, it's now time to take on the rival Bubs just north of Cerulean City, but just south of Nugget Bridge. Yeah, there's no way we're ready for Misty only at level 15, so into the battle with Bubs we go, but right away our health is low. Yeah, Pidgeotto has Quick Attack, which lets it move before our Fire Spin can lock it, even though we naturally outspeed. So we lose over half of our health before we even take down Bubs' first Pokemon. Yay! Rattata also has quick attack, so by the time we make it to the Squirtle, we're super low on health. I'm thinking a bubble or two will do ya, but luckily, we managed to land enough consecutive fire spins to roast the Turtle Tot before it can finish us off. And thank goodness too, otherwise, I'd have a Zaxby to grind. Or as I like to call it, Popcorn Chicken Dignation. After beating Bubs, it's time to take on Misty at the Cerulean City Gym for the Cascade Badge. Aptly named too, because this is where things water fall off a cliff. I tried this battle several times, and I never even got close to making it past just the Staryu at this level. Fire Spin does pittance in terms of damage, and her water guns are dousing our spirits. We're not nearly bulky enough to try to beat her with Bide either, so I think it's time to just move along. Right now, beating Misty is more of a lost cause than trying to find a Church's chicken outside of Texas. After all, they're few and far between. With Misty still in the back of my mind, we now have to head to Vermilion City to hop aboard the SS Anne to take on the rival Bubs, making sure to battle as many trainers along the way as I could for experience. This time at level 23, our Fire Spin is doing much more damage when it hits, and it gets through most of his team with very little trouble. By the time we make it to the War Turtle, I figure we actually do have enough health left over to try to finish it off with Bide. We take a couple of water guns for our troubles, and then wham bam thank you ma'am, we take it out. Alright, let's get off this boat before the crew decide to mutiny, or as I like to call it, a barbecue d'etat. Alright, back to the girl with the starfish tattoo. I have to beat the briny beach broad before we can advance through the rest of the plot in this game that I've played at least 100 times. Now at level 24, I think we can beat her using Bide. Well, kind of, and only if we get a little bit of luck. Staryu I just try to take down as quickly as possible with Peck. With enough health left over, as long as Misty uses an X defend on the same turn we go for Bide, we should have enough health left over to take 2 water type attacks and fire back with double that damage. So, 2 bubble beams later, and with next to no health, Moltres has done it. More like Kentucky Bide Chicken. Deciding not to press my luck with Lieutenant Surge just yet, I instead skip him for now. So after crawling through the dark and rock tunnel, I arrive in Lavender Town to take on the rival Bubs in the Pokemon Tower. He's got some new Pokemon on his team, like the Growlithe and the Execute, both of which don't exactly pose much of a threat to Moltres. However, as the level gap is closing, you can see that, once again, Fire Spin's just not doing that much damage anymore. Also, and I haven't really mentioned this before, but a lot of these battles are not first try victories. Oh no! In fact, I often have to reset the battle multiple times because Moltres will just keep missing fire spins. And I seriously cannot wait until we get a better fire move. Thankfully though, we'll only have to wait until, after beating the 7th gym. Okay. I keep holding out hope that the game will just spontaneously glitch, and then Moltres will have learned Flamethrower, but honestly, that might just be wishful thinking. Or as I like to call it, Pop Pie in the Sky. We've beaten Bubs, and now it's time to take on the Grass-type gym leader in Celadon City. At least for this battle, her 3 Pokemon are weak to Fire Spin. It does not help us, though, when we miss Fire Spin, and then Victory Bell locks us in for multiple turns with Wrap. Gotta say, not nearly as much fun when it's happening to you. At least it didn't put us to sleep with Sleep Powder, and Tangela doesn't have any scary moves anyways, so it just kind of faints. Plus, we land a critical hit on the Vileplume. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention too that multiple hit moves like Fire Spin crit every single move in the chain in this game. So our first critical hit Fire Spin turns into 3 in a row to finish off the Vileplume. So we landed the 70% chance for Fire Spin and got the 17.59% critical hit chance, which combined is a probability of 12.3% to occur. Or about, checking the calculator, beep boop boop, 1 in 8. I'm pretty sure that's right, but feel free to check my fried chicken calculations in the comment section below. After all, I could be wrong, for I am not a mathematician. After beating Erica, I head to the game corner to take on Giovanni in the Team Rocket hideout. This battle is a lot like Brock Part 2, except when we're talking about Giovanni, it's more like Part 2. Then again, maybe I shouldn't talk so much smack on him today because there may or may not exist footage on someone's hard drive of Moltres getting knocked out by Onyx's double super effective rock throws after missing a bunch of fire spins, and that definitely didn't happen multiple times. And even if that hypothetical footage did exist, I assure you, I would have the entire internet scrubbed before I let it see the light of day. So let's just pretend that we won on the very first try in a totally fair contest of Skillaway. Now that our level's in the 30s, I feel like it's finally time to take on Lieutenant Surge at the Vermilion City Gym. Yeah, that's right, I backtracked this whole way just to do a battle that is still technically optional. I mean, by backtracking, I used Fly to come straight here. And no, not on Moltres. I still might teach Fly to Moltres for when I have to fight Lorelei the same way I did with Articuno, but right now, Peck is still more consistent. Wow, that was a critical hit Thundershock? Man, my Moltres, you sure have come a long way. You're a regular Chipotle off the old block. I swear, all these barbecue jokes are making me so hungry. Now it's time to take on Koga at the Fuchsia City Gym. I go to Koga first before heading to the Sylph Company building because I really want the Soul Badge. That way, I can use Surf outside of battle, which means I can head to Cinnabar Island, which means I can fight Blaine, which means I can finally get a TM for a better fire move. Oh yeah, that's right, I almost forgot I'm in the middle of a battle. I should probably focus on that. My biggest concern, honestly, besides dozing off, is Koga using evasion moves to further reduce our odds of hitting Fire Spin. That and Wheezing exploding, which would actually make a lot of sense here, considering we're talking about a flammable chicken right next to a glorified fart ball. Or as I like to call it, the flap chute. Now there's nothing left to do but surf down to Cinnabar Island to take on the Fire-type gym leader Blaine so we can get the TM for Fire Blast. And also the Volcano Badge, but mostly the TM for Fire Blast. Now, before the battle, I actually taught Moltres the TM for Swift. I just really wanted a stronger move to fight with than Peck, and also, I don't want to use the resisted Fire Spin. Throughout this battle, I have to contend with random super potions being used, and our attacks not doing much damage, only to have that little bit of damage we actually get to do healed right away from the random super potions. And it's all very frustrating. I start to get excited once Rapidash lowers our defense a bunch of times with Tail Whip, because each time that happens, our attack and speed get badge boosted again. And I'm hoping that Swift will be enough to finish off the Arcanine once I get it into range with Fire Spin, which again, I did not want to use. But we miss one, and Arcanine slams us for the knockout with a critical hit takedown. Well, that's fun. That big red dog just chopped our chicken. You could say Clifford scissored our Big Bird's gizzards. A couple of tries later though, and we get super lucky and manage to make it to the Arcanine with a bunch of badge boosts and full health. We even get a critical hit Swift for some extra damage. The one bad thing about a bunch of badge boost here is that they come from Tail Whip lowering our defense, which you can see bite us in the butt when a not critical hit takedown leaves us on only 4 HP. At least the recoil helped us to finish it off, so I guess that's good, but man, that was a close call. We got that one just in the volcanic of time. Now that we finally have both Fire Blast and the Volcano Badge to boost our special stat, I head to Saffron City for yet another rival battle with Bubs in the Sylph Company building. I cannot tell you just how excited I am to finally have a proper move. Not even just a proper Fire-type move. No, just any decent move. Seriously, this entire run has been Moltres, which is another white great Pokemon between stats and typing, floundering around using the weakest moves in the game. Who am I? Giovanni? When we get to the Blastoise though, you can see the only downside to this move, the accuracy. More like whaccuracy, turns out it barely misses less than Fire Spin. Well, at least our Volcanic Chicken was able to beat the Blastoise, but only because Bubs completely fumbled the bag. Or as I like to call it, Mount Vesuvius. After beating Bubs, I've got to battle Giovanni. This battle is a great example of how great a move Fire Blast can be when it actually hits. We send out our Pokemon and Moltres starts blasting. This time, we don't miss a single one, and all of Giovanni's Pokemon go down faster than a subject of the dentist system. Moltres even lands a burn on the Nidoqueen just to be spiteful, I guess. But then again, I can't blame Moltres for lashing out a bit after spending this whole run using only Fire Spin like some kind of laval pirouette. That's like not letting the Karate Kid use the crane kick. But now that Moltres has Fire Blast, you could say that we're the breast around. We've got the thigh of the tiger, and other chicken body parts. At this point, the next place I have to go is right next door to take on Sabrina the Psychic Gym Leader. Not really sure how this is going to go, since we have pretty high special just like her Psychic-type Pokemon do, but also they have low defense, and we've got pretty good attack, but, you know, Peck and Swift. Eventually, I decided to just try using Fire Blast as much as possible until we get to the Alakazam, at which point, Sabrina plays this fun little game with us where she tries to prolong the fight without actually having to fight us. Hyper Potion, Reflect, Recover, Rinse, Lather, Repeat if needed. In the end though, our Fire crashes her Fox, which is why you should always maintain Chrome Field Advantage. Now it's time for the final showdown with Giovanni for our final gym badge. Moltres easily sweeps his whole team, using a combination of going for Fire Spin first on each Pokemon to chip their health, and then finishing them off with Fire Blast. Well, I did think Fire Blast would one-hit-KO the Rhyhorn and the Dugtrio, so technically I didn't start this strategy until actually getting to the Nidoqueen, but whatever. I do discover something interesting at the Rhydon, however. I thought because of the way Giovanni's smart AI works, he would see only Moltres' primary fire typing and repeatedly click Fissure, which doesn't affect our secondary flying typing, and then we could just clown on him and knock Rhydon out at our leisure, but turns out that's not how it works, and he just randomly picks from all of his moves? So, can somebody please explain to me what exactly is going on here? I haven't even the foggiest. I don't understand what's going on, and quite frankly, I'm beside myself. Or as I like to call it, coleslaw struck. Before we can take on the Elite Four, we have to battle the rival Bubs once again. I'm readying myself for a long and grueling series of attempts, mostly because of the Alakazam and the Blastoise. The first handful of Pokemon aren't any issue, they all go down to our combination of Fire Spin and Fire Blast, except for the Growlithe, who I do get all swifty on. But then the Alakazam comes out and slams us with a Psychic and a follow-up Psybeam for most of our health. Okay, we've got barely any health left, but at least Psychic didn't drop our special. My only hope now is to Fire Spin the Blastoise indefinitely, which does not come to fruition as we miss the very first one and fall to a Hydro Pump. Huh. And here's the thing, we lost in this same manner multiple times, so I've just got to figure something out. We need to consider a different Bojangle of attack. After contemplating my options, I decide to just level up a bit and see what happens. I know I can always get the TM for Mimic from the copycat girl in Saffron City and use it to take Pidgeot's agility and abuse that for badge boost, and while that often happens for this rival battle in my other attempts, it shall not happen on this day. I already know I'll need extra levels to beat Lorelei later, so I go around Kanto beating any trainers that I previously skipped until we're at level 50. And at this point, we're only doing slightly better than before. I do get some decent Fire Spin luck against the Blastoise, not only because we're actually landing our attacks, but also because we get a couple critical hits. And remember, Fire Spin chains critical hits in this game, so we're able to whittle this Toidle down to where a Fire Blast can finish it off before we ever have to take a Hydro Pump. And having to use Fire Spin is always stressful, since you never know when it's going to miss and then cost you the battle. You can really cut the mole tension with a knife. Alright, it's time to take on the Elite Four, but first, here are the stats and moves. Moltres is level 51, and holy cramoly, look at that special stat. Even more surprising is the fact that despite being 25 base points lower, our attack stat is only 14 points behind our special. Although, when I really think about it, I guess the battles in this game seem to favor you encountering Pokemon with more base attack than special. So I suppose that we've accumulated a significant amount more stat experience favoring our attack than our special. Anyways, as for the moves, for now, we have the same as before, and I'm sure that might change soon, but I did want to try and see how far we could go with our current moveset now that we have Fire Blast. Because seriously, I can't emphasize enough how great it is to finally have a halfway decent fire move. It's like music to my ears. which I guess would make Moltres the songbird of our generation, or as I like to call it, Susan Broyle. First up is Lorelei with a team of Ice-type Pokemon. Well, none of them are pure Ice types, and Slowbro isn't Ice at all, so really, we only have an advantage against the Jinx for being Fire-type. Well, let's just see how it goes. Out comes the Dugong, and hey, things are actually going pretty aight at first. We managed to take it down without taking any damage. We managed to take down the Cloyster without taking any damage, which is important because it can lock us with super effective clamps. Not to be confused with super effective cramps, although both hurt pretty bad, I'm sure. Not that it matters, because thanks to the patriarchy, we'd still have to show up to work anyways. Do you know who else is showing up to put in work today? Apparently Moltres, because my dude comes out here and manages to take down even the Slowbro without taking any damage. That's 3 Pokemon in a row. And I can't believe this is going so well. Oh. Uh-huh. Yep, there's that sweet country fried karma. Sure did come around there in the end, huh? Well, if that's a sign of things to come, then I've got a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. Like when your chicken is way too greasy and you gotta pat it down with a paper towel. So, is the run over? Don't you worry, I'll be the judge of that. Alright, for context, that last battle I showed you was the best of many attempts before using Mimic, so I decided to finally cut my losses and just teach Mimic to Moltres and go with it. Now we're able to copy Amnesia from the Slowbro to boost our special. Not only that though, and say it with me everyone, it also lets us badge boost our other stats as well. In this game, every time your stats are modified in battle, the badge boosts to your other stats are reapplied as well. So with a maximized special stat and enough extra speed to beat the Roadrunner in a foot race, Moltres demolishes the rest of her team with Fire Blast. We even miss one, but then tank a Hydro Pump from Lorelei's Lapras, and then Moltres cooks Lorelei's Goose with Fire Blast. I just like saying Fire Blast. It's Fire Blast. In the end, I guess grinding levels forever would have in fact been a monumental waste of time when teaching Mimic was a quick fix. Kinda like realizing 20 pounds too late that the quote-unquote fried chicken diet was a bad idea, and then scheduling liposuction the day before prom. Or as I like to call it, a nip in Kentucky. And with Lorelei defeated, it's time to take on Bruno. Although, after her, I really don't expect much from the moronic musclehead. His Pokemon all have particularly paltry special stats, and we've got a Fire Chicken. I decide to use Fire Spin to gauge how much damage our attacks are going to do, and once I see how much a 15 base power fire move is doing, I just go for Fire Blast against the rest of his Pokemon. And it goes pretty much exactly as you would expect. In the end, I'm not sure if the critical hit that we get against Machamp even mattered, but also, I don't care enough to try again and find out. Sometimes you just gotta let sleeping dogs lie, and sometimes you gotta let seasoned chicken fry. Is there a need for this rhyme? I don't know why. Alright, enough of that. It's time to move on. No more impromptu poetry, even if it was quite lovely. Now it's time for the Elite Four member Agatha, the Geriatric Ghost Trainer. And this one is not fun. Her ghost Pokemon have high special, and we cannot afford to miss any of our attacks. She's got plenty of annoying moves like Hypnosis and Confuse Ray, and her high special means we do less damage, which means we need to hit more attacks, which means more chances to miss, which means more chances for Confuse Rays and such, and you get the idea. It's really not going well either. You can see just what happens when we take a couple of Nightshades, which isn't even as bad as being put to sleep and hit with Dream Eater, which also happens a lot. We do get a burn on her lead Gengar, but even more importantly, a lucky burn against the Golbat, and since burn halves the afflicted Pokemon's attack, we manage to survive a wing attack and fight another turn. But it all comes crashing down when we miss and get put to sleep by her Haunter. God, she's so rude. Devil worshipping witch needs Jesus, I swear. You know they say, Jesus always said, love thy neighbor, but how can you love Agatha when her behavior is very uncrispian? I use several rare candies until we reach level 55. This gives us a few extra levels worth of stats, plus it puts us at one of the damage rounding levels. Due to the way this game calculates damage, which is partly based upon your level, anytime your Pokemon's level ends in 0, 3, 5, or 8, that formula rounds up for a little bit of extra damage. It's also importantly the level where Moltres learns agility, which not only lets us raise our speed, but also allows us to badge boost our other stats as well. Plus, the fact that we used rare candies means our experience is reset to 0, so we won't level up during the battle, which would reset our additional badge boost from agility. And all in all, these things add up to mean that Moltres is hitting way harder than before, meaning fewer moves required, leaving fewer opportunities to miss those moves, yada yada yada. And all in all, I'm just glad to be done with this devil woman. And now it's time for our crispy chicken to make its escape faster than a priest who got caught at a nightclub. Or as I like to call it, the old deep fryer tuck and roll. Next up is the final Elite Four member, Lance the Dragon Master, and he's actually even harder to beat than you might expect. It all comes down to one Pokemon, his lead Gyarados. Because it's a water type, it resists our fire moves, and it knows that super powerful, super effective move Hydro Pump, so we don't really have any opportunity to badge boost with agility. All we can hope for is for Fire Spin to not miss. And every time it does, you know we're getting slammed with a wall of water. Well, that's the end of that. Our chicken's progress has come to a screeching halt. I'm getting nowhere with this. After a bunch of unsuccessful attempts, I change up my strategy slightly. I go for Fire Spin first, and if it misses, I reset. If it hits though, once it finishes, I don't go for Fire Spin again. Instead, I go straight for Fire Blast and hope for it to hit while Hydro Pump misses. Statistically speaking, I'm pretty sure this is more likely to net us a win than only using Fire Spin, and don't challenge me on that because, again, like I said before, not a magmatician, don't really care. Once the Gyarados goes down though, I decide to mimic Hyper Beam from Lance's Dragonair and then grab a few agilities for badge boost to our attack and defense. And things are going well until his Dragonair critically hits a Hyper Beam for most of our health. Yikes. Well, at least we don't have to take a recharge turn in this game when we knock something out with Hyper Beam, so that's nice. We even managed to survive a bite from the Aerodactyl while super low on health, thanks to the defense badge boost from agility. It's not quite enough to finish off the Dragonite though, as Lance finishes us off with Slam. I thought we had that one. Just goes to show, sometimes you can get ahead of yourself, stumble, and stub your foot. And then you know what happens then? Yeah, you crack a toe up. Just a couple more tries, thankfully, until I make it back to the Dragonite, and this time, we fare far better than before. We miss both our attacks, but then a Fire Blast from our airborne Lava Lamp puts the chubby Dwagon in range of a Hyper Beam. And that's the end of that charade. His team is burnt to a crisp, just like our spicy breading, and now it's time to move on. Or as the saying goes, ashes to ashes, crust to crust. Finally, it's time to take on the champion, our rival Bubs. This time, I've got a plan. Bubs sends out his lead Pidgeot, and I've got to make sure that it doesn't hit us with a Sky Attack. Alright, Fire Spin should do the trick nicely, so long as we don't miss and get locked in ourselves by Pidgeot's Mirror move, which would copy Fire Spin. Remember, it's only fair when I'm the one using it. No one else! Pidgeot goes down, we level up, and then I use Mimic to copy Recover from Alakazam. And since we just leveled up, we can try to go for agilities to badge boost, and if we take a little damage in the process, we can recover with, well, Recover! Fire Blast burns Rhydon, and I grab the last of our agilities before trying to finish it off with Fire Spin to save the last of our Fire Blast PP. And now that we only have fire moves, Arcanine actually poses a slight problem. Even with our boost, Fire Blast is likely not a 2-hit KO, but between Takedown Recoil and Leer giving us more badge boost, now Fire Blast definitely is going to pick up the knockout. Exeggutor goes down to a single Fire Blast, and I'm just praying we don't level up before the Blastoise. The turtle comes out, and we're still level 57. Okay, now's the time. Fire Spin is doing decent chip damage, and Blastoise misses a Hydro Pump that would have really hurt, and more importantly, misses a Blizzard, which could have frozen us. And that would have been the end of this battle, since there's literally no way to thaw yourself in battle in this game without using items. But in the end, Blastoise goes down without Moltres ever getting frozen, So fall's well that ends well. And I'm happier than a newlywed. You could even say lava is in full plume. And with that, the challenge is over. Moltres really was a pretty frustrating Pokemon to use for one of these runs. Having to rely for so long on Fire Spin was really aggravating. It constantly misses, and even when it does hit, it takes forever to actually do the damage you need anyways. Heck, I've used worse Pokemon before, but even those are still fun in their own way. Winning with Moltres wasn't exactly a challenge, more so just a waiting game, and a boring one at that. But that's not what matters. What matters is that we won, despite many people thinking that Moltres is the worst of the three birds. You know, a complete joke by comparison, and many of you probably didn't even think that we could beat the challenge. But that's why I always shun the non-believers. As always, I want to thank you all for making it to the end of this video. These videos are a lot of fun, but also a ton of work, so I really do appreciate it. There's a playlist on my channel where you can check out the rest of my Pokemon Challenge videos as well. And if you like this kind of content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe and enable notifications so you'll know right away the next time one of these episodes is uploaded. And if you want access to a lot of my past challenge videos ad-free, consider becoming a member or by joining on Patreon. And let me know in the comments what other Pokemon you want to see, and I might do it. Next time, I'll be trying to beat Pokemon Red using only one Zapdos. Alright, until next time,